Hey everyone, welcome to the bonus module. I'm here with Krystal Brandt today, and I am so excited for the conversation we're going to bring you. And I'll let Krystal introduce herself in just a moment. But Krystal is a dear friend of mine from Encinitas. She's graduated through Prosperity Posse. She is a badass coach, waiting list to get in line to work with her, sold out programs. And she just really creates these high-end experiences around her brand, which is the courage of ease and creating a life that you don't need a vacation from, which I love that, Krystal, so much.
I love it too.
And when she was in Prosperity Posse, we really just noticed how growth and getting to the next level can be so painful at times, and especially when you're identified with the pain. So we're doing a bonus module for you guys today, for anyone who's just feeling like, whoa, I'm totally at my edge. I'm in the feels. It's so heavy on my chest, this whole phase that I'm in. And so we have a conversation today, which is the 4 steps of keeping it pleasurable even when you're in the growth phase. So how to maintain your pleasure, your ease, your relaxation, your flow when you're really stretched to your greatest capacity. So thank you for being here, Krystal. I'm so excited to jam on this with you today.
Me too. Had I had this module like 2 years ago in my business, things would have been very different. So I'm very honored and excited. Thank you.
Mhm. Do you want to share a little bit about the work you do with clients and why people are such raving fans about you and keep coming back and just really, really love you as a coach?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I help high achieving women to create a life that they don't need a vacation from. And the way that I do that is helping them prioritize an foundation of exquisite self-care as a number one priority in their life. We, as high achieving, ambitious women, do not get that permission anywhere. We don't even have examples of what it's like to see high powered, amazing women in their power, taking up space, creating a lot of change in the world, and doing it in a more feminine, balanced way, right? With a healthy masculine and a healthy feminine. So the reason that my women are so excited for this work and the reason why it lasts is because it's tailored to their own flavor of what that balance looks like. My routine in the morning is so different than Jolie's, right? Because they're tailored to who we are as unique, powerful women leading with our hearts online. And so when we get down to the nitty gritty of what are these things, what are the component pieces that really light this woman up, that really turns them on to their life and their business, so that their business doesn't just become another job for them. You know, all of a sudden they understand, okay, in order to feel a certain way, I need these core components activated in my world. And it's on me to do that work, to prioritize making that time to feel that way. Right? So this stuff doesn't happen by accident. You don't just stumble upon a life that feels as good as any Hawaiian vacation ever. Right? It doesn't just like fall out of the sky like, oh, thanks, that was nice. You got to put in the work. You got to create it. So it's for you to create. And these are some of the foundational building blocks for how to emotionally ground yourself and make sure that your foundation, that exquisite self-care foundation, is really solid, that you're not building on a house of cards. Okay? And that's why Jolie and I want to lend our wisdom forward to you, because here you are taking this incredible, courageous step in your business of launching your business, having these huge launches, ultimately to serve these incredible clients of yours. And we need you showing up in the most optimal way possible. So this whole conversation is going to contribute to how you can do that.
So beautiful. And I agree with you. This conversation a couple years ago would have been so helpful, and it's going to be helpful now even. But
Totally.
when I started to realize that the most important thing in this entire entrepreneurial journey is how I feel and how I take care of myself. And if I lose sight of that and it becomes about money or business or the grind, I'm not available to serve and to show up.
Nope, not in the way that we really know we're being called to, right? So there's that like moment of incongruency. So it's on us to bring it back to what's most important.
You know, and I can't even count how many of my friends describe entrepreneurship as the continual cycle of burnout. And especially women, we end up pushing our bodies past the point of exhaustion, and we don't even quite realize how much we need a psychic and energetic break. And again, I keep count how many times I've seen somebody come online with a huge launch. Boom, they made their like, you know, multiple 5-figure, 6-figure launch. They crushed it, they nailed it. And then they're telling the story of, well, it really burned me out. That's why you haven't seen me in a couple of years. I haven't mailed my list in a couple of years. I fell off, you know, from doing this because I couldn't find the balance of taking care of myself.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, that price is it's such a high cost to pay. Because not only are you taxing your body in ways that are irrecoverable, like our most valuable resource is time, and our most valuable vehicle in this life and currency is our health and our body, period. Like, try and do launches, try and serve your clients without a healthy body. There is no equation for that. There's no back door to shortcut that. And so not only is that you're paying the price for you personally, but also the cost, like what's the cost to your clients who you're not serving because you didn't take care of yourself? You know, so we're being called, this new paradigm of business, this new age of the feminine is about balance. We have been running it toward the finish line from everything from our businesses to our orgasms for way too long. You know what I'm saying? So we have got to slow down. We've got to create with more intention. And it is on us to do that.
And so for anyone watching that's feeling like, is it only me that feels like I just can't do this? And it feels so hard and sticky and vulnerable and unsafe. You're not alone. This conversation is for you. This conversation is for the times when you're feeling like, wow, I don't know if I have it in me, like genuinely questioning whether you have it in you. And so we're here to remind you that you do. And again, like Krystal said, instead of building that foundation on a house of cards, where is your solid foundation? How do we build that? What does it actually take to have a long-term sustainable business where we're filled up? And Krystal, the thing I love about you is the energy that you just be every day. Who you are. It's such a role model and example. You're so turned on, and in your videos you can tell you're excited, you're in this sexy, juicy relationship, you're moving, like you're just saying yes to life in such a beautiful way that is a role model. So how do we get that? Let's get into the 4 steps here of creating pleasure, relaxation, even in the stages of growth. So the number one thing that Krystal and I sort of talked about was this concept of identity. So do you want to kick us off for like, what do you mean by identity when we get too attached to identity, and how that being attached to identity and, like you said, the roller coaster of entrepreneurship really zaps all the pleasure?
Let's talk about this, shall we, ladies? Okay, so here you are, birthing this business into the world. Maybe for the first time, maybe the first time in a new way, a more authentic way, a more aligned way. If you try to be the same old woman who maybe did her 9-to-5 job, or how you were showing up to your business before this moment in time, it is not going to pan out well. The reason why is because who you were that brought you to this moment got you all of this. So freaking celebrating you, girl. Like, whoa, you created this in your reality right now, this conversation. Okay. And with that next level that you're headed to, you have to become the woman. You have to make decisions in your business for who you're becoming, not who you are today. Because who you are today is immediately going to be outgrown by where your business is taking you. Okay, so let me break it down a little bit more. So many times on my personal journey, like let's do some storytelling here. And I'm going to be super real with you because I really believe in that. And Jolie, you do this well too. You do such great storytellings behind the scene. And I learned so much, even in being in Jolie's field and energy for the time that I was in this intimate way of being in Prosperity Posse. I was able to hear just those like little stories, or like how she chose to show up to her morning routine when she was moving, and like, all these little things that we think are just kind of like the peripheral stuff, but I get to see who she's being and who she shows up as, and her mindset behind who she knows herself to be in this moment. Okay. And earlier this year, I hit a point of borderline burnout, of just sitting in my car at the gym on the phone with my friend, and I'm like, I don't actually see the next step. And it was scary. It was so scary. I said the words, I think I'm done. Like, I think I just need to quit this. And I'm like, I don't know if that's me or some other crazy energy talking through me, but like, it needed to come out because I was so at my edge. I was so at my edge of who I knew myself to be up to that moment. And my friend was just with me in that moment, just seeing me through. But the thing that she said is like, Krystal, you can't quit. This is so your work in the world. But what I realized in that moment by giving myself permission just to say the like kind of crazy feeling thing is that I realized that a part of me was dying. It was the part of my identity that I saw myself as up to that moment. And you better believe this is okay. I'm going to share with you an insight from this journey that will take this with you. It will save you so many hours of pain. Every time I notice that I'm at an absolute just like grinding halt or grinding breaking point, I have now correlated that to, oh man, there's something really good coming that's way bigger than what I've ever received in my business, right on the heels of the other end of this like purging, emotional purging right now. And it never fails that the next biggest revenue day comes. The next like onslaught of clients come, right? But had I not let myself just be in that moment, let it out, and then help just be in the right supportive container. Part of my self-care was being with my friend in that moment and not being alone in my car, quitting my entire business and my trajectory for my service in the world alone. Not the best choice, right? But I chose to surround myself in something that was nourishing for me to help me take the next step. Okay, so anytime when we're talking identity in your business, we're talking about a very fluid idea. You are on a growth path. You are never going to be the same person day to day, let alone month to month, let alone year to year. Okay, so when we're talking identity, just know that who you've known yourself to be that brought you to this moment, like give her so much love and thanks. You created this, you created that, like you're such a badass. Oh my gosh, you're amazing. Like shower her with love. And also know that there's this next evolution of me that's coming. And the less I can be attached to this old way of being, the less tension and resistance that ends up coming up when I allow myself to expand into that next energetic container.
Gosh, the part you speaking about how scary it is when you don't feel inspired and you can't see the next step. Because as entrepreneurs, it's like our business is supporting our life. It is our safety. It is that primary, Maslow's hierarchy of need. It's safety, security, physical needs met. And if we're not inspired and we're not creating, where's money coming in? How am I supporting myself and whoever depends on me? And so, but then that moment, Krystal, so brilliant, because in that moment you can either create the story, whoa, something that is beyond my wildest imagination is about to emerge from this. That's one road that takes you down, or holy shit, everything's crumbling. So there's a huge responsibility in that moment when we hear that self-talk coming up, and all those stages that we call it entropy, where we're like going into our cocoon to re-emerge as something, and we can judge the shit out of ourselves and make ourselves wrong and get wrapped up in fear and create this spiral of fear.
Totally.
Or have something in our toolbox called, I recognize this moment and it feels like something beautiful is about to come from the unknown. How delightful that I don't know the next step. Whoa, holy reframe and major state shift, right?
And this is where the courage of ease comes in. This is why I call my work Courage of Ease, because you better believe, as a modern day woman, it takes courage to quest and choose ease in a moment where falling down the slippery, seductive slope of depression or just that really low is knocking on your door. But instead, to be in touch with your heart and to be in touch with your mission enough to get out of your own emotional experience to say, I choose the ease here. Where is the ease? I know it's here. I mean, I get fierce with the universe. You better believe I do. In the car, I'm like, where's the ease? Where is it? How am I not seeing it? Please bring it to me. Make it so available to me that I can't miss it, right? Which is why I love the access consciousness questions, because you're always going to get a reply. So ask better questions in a moment of like, okay, I'm literally not seeing this way through. Show me where it is. I cannot do this alone. And that's another great point that I want to make here. Most of the times when I'm in major contraction in my business, when I'm in points of emotional despair, I'm trying to do all the heavy lifting of creating everything myself. I'm not asking for help. I'm not reaching out to coaches. I'm not reaching out to my friends. I'm definitely not in conversations with the universe or my business, because I talk to my business every single day. Definitely add that in to your self-care practices, you know?
And it's weirdly enough, there actually is some form of pleasure there that we have to be careful of, because it is a counterfeit pleasure, where it's like, I'm all alone in this. Nobody's here. I'm just going to push through. Those states actually can be like, you can find something there that feels addicting. So we have to be very careful that we don't get caught in that counterfeit pleasure spiral where it's like, oh, I just like being alone over here. Because it just, there's no workability if you're interested in pleasure and success.
Well said. That's a tricky one. Yeah, well said. And that needs to be pointed out, because you better believe when I'm in those moments, I'm as tempted as anyone to just fall into that, like almost like pleasure of the relief of not having to carry my mission forward.
Gosh. Whoa. Way to call yourself out.
Because that shit's scary. You guys, like, I'm planning out my next year of business and I'm like, what? Like, that's coming through and that's coming through. And I had a couple days of just like a bit of recoil. I'm like, I don't know if I really want to do that. Which, of course, in my heart of hearts, I know I do. That's why I'm here. It's literally why I woke up this morning and still have another day here on the planet. And my human's freaking out a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I'm with you.
Jolie, I know you know those moments.
Planning 2018, I'm like, whoa, let's go. Let's rise to the bigness.
Right.
So in summary of this point number one, the most primary foundational step to take if you're interested in creating pleasure and relaxation in your business is understand the identity that you're being. What I'll add to that is it's kind of like a cool thing to do in the entrepreneurship world is to be a part of the rise and the fall and the all over the place of the roller coaster of entrepreneurship. And so what's the key takeaway? What does she need to do if she's watching this to understand her identity as an entrepreneur if she's interested in pleasure?
Take a breath. Let's do it together. What is true for me right now? Not just what the story around it is, like what is true. This always brings me back to the present moment. What is true in this moment is that I have this beautiful home over my head. I have amazing, organic, delicious food in the fridge. I'm talking to one of my freaking soul sisters on the path right now. Like, how abundant and blessed am I? Right? Bringing it back to the present moment is going to be life-giving for you. And you cannot take your next step without being present. Okay. So what is true for me right now? Bringing it back. And the next step is, okay, what is my next step in alignment with who I'm serving? What is my next step in alignment with who I'm serving? What do, in my case, like what do my women need from me right now? Like, how can I show up to serve them and make myself available to them? Sometimes it's reaching out to my current clients and celebrating them and showering them with everything that they're doing well. Other times it's hopping on a Facebook Live from that filled up, pleasurable energy. You know, another time it's sending out an email to, you know, a new connection that I want to nurture. But I'm not going to know what that next step is from a heartfelt place, and my energy is not going to be right about it if I'm not present in the moment with what's calling me forward.
So beautiful. Gosh, these are words of wisdom. Krystal, thank you so much. So moving to step 2 here, if you're interested in maintaining pleasure, even when you're in a massive growth stage, is understanding the beast of the internal critic in your mind. And so we all have an inner critic, but it's our relationship with our inner critic that's going to make or break our success in managing our state. And so I wanted to show you guys really quickly a presentation I did at the Empowered, Sexy, and Free Summit, where I kind of break down like what it looks like when the critic is the CEO of your life, and to understand like what is actually running your life. Because I believe that what the Bible talks about as hell is a state of being on planet Earth. And we can either create our heavenly experience or our hell experience. And we actually have to be proactive to create an experience of heaven.
Yeah.
So here are the top 5 things that I see kind of repetitively with all my students in Prosperity Posse. So number 1, they get really stuck in perfectionism, whether they're creating their signature process, about ready to launch. The number 1 thing that really stops women in their tracks, and there's this internal conversation, is it has to be perfect. And in turn, it makes us doubt everything we're doing and force something to happen. The second stage of this is comparison. Oh my gosh, you guys, in the beginning, a couple years ago, I remember seeing this coach online, and I went through like a 2-week feeling low over going on a rabbit hole of comparing myself to this coach that I never thought I'd be where she was. So the comparison CEO of the critic tells us that it's already been done. Who am I to create this? And even if I could create this, somebody would surely be able to create it better. So again, if we're interested in really having a state of freedom and ease in our experience of entrepreneurship, comparison, we have to be aware of it. It's going to happen. But again, it's our relationship to it that we need to be aware of. Conditioning tells us that, I've tried this before in the past and I wasn't able to do it. So how could I do it now? I'm such a procrastinator. I've broken promises to myself. So I really don't even trust myself to create this time. And the fear trap is all about keeping us in the illusion of being small and comfortable. So we can't really win if we have fear of success and fear of failure running at the same time. So you literally can't win inside of that. And then lack and scarcity is a big one. It's there's not enough. The word scarcity is actually built into our economic system. Since the time we were young, we've been programmed and conditioned that there isn't enough to go around, and we do have to compete to get what we want. And so that way of being has us control and resist the flow of life. So what would you say about the inner critic, and how have you built a relationship with that in your life and your business, Krystal?
So the iconic image that I like to use is when I realized that the inner critic was actually driving my car. So if you think of you in your car, and I heard another woman, I'm going to blank on her name right now, but she called it the perfect woman. It's like, oh, this is the perfect woman. This is how the perfect woman showers her hair. This is the perfect woman how she drives her car and runs her business. And it's like this constant comparison that we're never good enough against the perfect woman. And we all have this thing inside of us. I believe it was Rachel Caco, Caco. That's her name. You know her? I met her.
We go back to Landmark days. Her husband Dennis was like in the Landmark class. Rachel.
Perfect. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I met her at a recent women's self-care event. And so, yeah, she talks about the perfect woman, and it's a beautiful explanation of what we're talking about. So, but my image of it is realizing that these thoughts that were pinging my mind all freaking day long were literally just, you talk a lot in Prosperity Posse about like our brain and our chemicals and the neural pathways and what's going on. Literally, these are just like old learned pings on the brain, like neural pathways that was created and grooved over, 20, 30 years of life. And so now I see them for what they are. I see them as like, oh, okay, this is old wiring. And oh, the inner critic somehow found herself in the driver's seat of my car. And I'm just in the passenger seat wondering why she's like driving around erratically like a, crazed woman, because she's so freaked out by life that she can't even like clearly see the next step. So I'm like, okay, sister, listen. I just turned to the driver's seat. I'm like, listen, this is not your car to drive anymore. Like, I love you. I know that you're looking out for me. Like, you have done such an amazing job looking out for me my entire life. Like, I'm still here because of you. Okay. I need you in my world, and I need you just in the back seat now. Just like, come on, girl. Like, you take a rest. Like, I get to drive now. You hop in the back seat and just relax. And if there's anything that pops up that I need to know about that is like super alarming, I should definitely know about it. I'm going to be listening. I'm going to hear you out. And until then, girl, relax. Just chill. Okay. All of a sudden I put myself back in the driver's seat, and I'm not run by that voice that is erratic, fear-based, scarcity-based. I mean, there's just so much noise. Most of that stuff isn't even ours to begin with. It's our families, it's societies, it's what our school teacher said that one time. It's like, talk about identity. Like, most of our identity, when we're living unconsciously, if you will, like before we really wake up to what we're here to do, before we have that spiritual awakening, it's just default. It's like our operating system. So now when you're bumping up against the inner critic, you get to have the volition and choice to say, is this useful for me right now? Like, is this actually an appropriate reaction or response to what's going on in my present moment? Usually it's super irrational and we're living our life by irrational thinking, but we're trained for it. So that's, again, where the courage comes in to say, no more. Like, I'm going to consciously choose my thoughts.
And the work I've done with Access Consciousness too, it's like all about, if we take the case that this entire reality we're living in is energy, everything is energy. And how many people a day, the word debt comes across their head, or they get a phone call from a collector, or they open their bank account and they're just flooded with this experience of lack, scarcity, fear. And we have to be so diligent and proactive as awakened conscious beings if we don't want to get wrapped up into the collective. I remember Corey Michelle even telling me, like, you ever look in the mirror in a dressing room and just feel so much judgment for your body that you never feel at home? It's like how much judgment has happened in that mirror at Nordstrom in the bathing suit department. And I think of the same thing, like when you open up your bank account, you log into online banking, like how many millions of people around the world are having an experience of like can't even breathe when you look at your online bank account. And so we really do have to be proactive with the way that we think, the way that we train our inner critic. And that's such a beautiful analogy. Like, I know you're going to be there. You're built in to keep me safe. I will listen to you if there's something alarming. Like, thank you. And for the next stage of my growth, I can't continue to operate from the adaptation that used to work for me back then. Like, it is time that I free myself from the collective consciousness of fear and scarcity.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a powerful choice.
Mm-hmm. And so the main takeaway from point number 2, as we declare our pleasure in business and understanding the inner critic, what's the main takeaway here?
You get to choose. Like, you get to choose how you show up. We live in an abundant universe where literally this very moment that I'm speaking with you, there are endless options for how I can show up to this moment. Whoa. I could have chosen to wear my hair differently. I could have had a different attitude. I could have fed myself differently, so I'd show up differently. I mean, just like endless. So when I say you get to choose, like, you get to choose whose voice in your mind you subscribe to. And a lot of the practice in entrepreneurship is actually refining where your voice lies inside the noise. And if you don't know right now, it's okay. Like, truly, it's okay. I'm still finding mine. I'm still refining mine. There are days, and Jolie, I imagine that you can relate. I feel like such a freaking newbie on this entrepreneurial path. I'm like, oh girl, I'm just getting started.
But like a master and so seasoned.
Oh, totally. And I'm like, I still get out of the morning just questioning things, got out of the bed. Like, I still have my moments, I'm still human. We all are. So you get to choose how you show up minute to minute. And it is a practice. Consider it a sacred ritual to train your mind to be your best friend and confidant. Because you better believe I would not be talking to Jolie the way that my inner critic is talking to me. I just wouldn't even consider it. Right? So we get to choose.
Oh my gosh, train your mind to be your best friend and confident. Oh my gosh, what a shift, Krystal. And I just want to point out one moment, and it's just really important. You talked about like there's infinite ways we can show up to the moment. I don't know if you guys are familiar with a platform called Gaia TV. It's kind of like YouTube for conscious stuff. It's like $9.99 a month, and there's a series on there called The Butterfly Effect, and it shows how like these major decisions in history change like massive just like the ripple effect. So like Alexander the Great leads his people to this different war and he ends up dying. And there's like just the ripple effect to the planet and through history is massive based on like one decision.
Wow.
So it's kind of crazy to think about, but even one thought can change so much. If we walk into a coffee shop with a thought of like, whoa, I just got a call from my creditor and my student loans are due, and like this pit in the stomach that's only like one call away, if we don't have a mechanism to be able to kind of have self-control over not getting to that negative spiral. So we walk into the coffee shop and it's like head down, not feeling good. Can I even afford this $8 latte? Good on ya, and Encinitas. We're like in that mode, we're going to completely miss the person that walks by that could have been a beautiful connection. Versus like, I just got that call. My whole fight or flight response is being activated. This is a very like a safety mechanism. Like what's actually happening in my body? Take a moment to breathe. I'm abundant. I have $10,000 in the bank or whatever it is. What's actually real is I have a huge network of people that love me, and boom, now I look over to my right, I meet somebody I'm supposed to meet. And the way the universe can sync up when we're being in a high vibrational state, there's just so much more magic available to us. And so it is our responsibility to choose, and it is an option at any given moment.
Amen.
So the third point here we have is the courage of ease, which is the name of your program, which is beautiful. Why is it courageous to choose ease?
Oh my gosh, it goes against everything that I learned from my mom about how to take care of yourself or lack thereof. It goes against everything I've been conditioned for as an A+ student. It goes against everything that I learned of how to earn respect in the workplace, right? I learned that everyone else's needs are more important than my own. I learned that I had to hustle to my own detriment in order to climb the ladder, right? And I learned that I came last. Like I was never a consideration as far as putting energy, time, love towards me. And I am a product of those mindsets of where it took me. And it took me, you better believe it took me to a huge burnout when my mom got sick, because I was taking on everyone else's burdens on my own. It literally broke my back. I herniated a disc in my back from the weight of the stress of it. You know, and I'm at my mother's bedside holding her hand. And I realized this is a moment when I wasn't sure if she was ever going to wake up again. And I took a silent vow, which I didn't know it to be that at the time, but I do now. And I said, I will do whatever it takes to take care of me so that my future children don't have to be at my bedside for things that I can take care of in myself now. You know, and the reason why this is my work in the world is because I don't want you to have to get that far down that path, to be in that kind of suffering, to wake up to the fact that you matter. Okay, so I had this lifetime of conditioning telling me that ease was lazy, that ease wasn't even an option. I mean, how is it that we live in this universe? And I never knew that ease was an option, that easy was actually the path of highest fruit of your labors. You know, so we're conditioned for the exact opposite of ease. So you better believe when I say it takes courage to live a life of ease as a modern day woman, it's the truth. And it shows up in the tiniest moments, right? Just before this call, you know, I'm asking myself, how can I show up in the highest way to serve these women, right? It's for them to learn from my path, like what will be of highest use. And I'm grounding myself and I'm cutting any cords. You know, I have this whole energetic practice. I'm big into the energetics, and I know Jolie is as well, because it's all freaking energy. So I get to choose how I show up, right? But these moments, had I been rushed from the last thing, or like been like half eating my breakfast that I forgot to eat, or like didn't, you know, put my amazing fuchsia lipstick on, which when the day comes that this lipstick is, it's like, I'm rocking it. Like I feel so great wearing this lipstick. It brings me so much pleasure. It's my favorite color in the entire world. You know, so all these little choices to take care of myself and my being, my body, my emotions, my spirituality build to the courage. And it takes courage to choose those things every single day. I don't just choose it and then boom, my life is magical. I choose it once, and I choose it twice, and I choose it again. Right? So just like that for your journey, the courage of ease is a choice in every moment, to have the courage to choose ease.
Gosh, such a powerful story that like it just resonates on so many levels. So I feel the same way about like silent vows I took for myself. And even just the other weekend, I noticed a tendency that I have to get codependent in relationships, my romantic relationships. And I like completely lost my identity in an engagement I have had in the past. And now I'm in a relationship where it's just, it always feels so good to be together that it actually takes a conscious effort to be like, okay, this Sunday, I'm going to have the whole day to myself. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to have it to myself, and then I'm going to sleep at my house. I'm going to wake up and it's going to be Monday. And then I'm at my house on Sunday and I'm like, I don't even know myself. How do I even be with myself? But these moments, it's training ground. And I asked myself the question, okay, what's the most loving thing I could do? Instead of wondering like what my partner's doing or what I'm missing out on, or this rush to try to be with people because I'm such an extrovert that it's so natural for me to be like, okay, who's doing what? And I'm like, okay, what actually wants to happen? It was a gorgeous day. I spent a couple hours on my patio reading the Gene Keys, which is Krystal.
Totally reading right now.
I picked up my phone and I booked a massage on Soothe, and I had a 90-minute massage with this woman who ended up being a sound healer and an ecstatic dancer in Austin. And I just had this day where I was so filled up, and then Monday comes and I'm like, I know who I am. I know how I serve. I know how I show up, and I'm full, versus what could have been a really easy decision, which is like, who's available to hang out? What's this like counterfeit temporary high that I can have? And so anyway, that all was to like ask the question and notice your tendencies. And then the other thing, which was when you said the A straight A student, it's like, can you imagine if your teacher was like, okay, Krystal, I see that you are rocking it with the force and the hustle and studying, but it would be really great if we could get you to a 4.2 with you know, like that would be crazy. That's like not in the culture at all. And those are our like primary years where we're forming our brain and the patterns, you know?
But this is one of those moments where you zoom out and realize, oh my God, my contributions right now are building that reality. What if my future children, and you know, girls and boys, whatever, we'll see, are going through school where their teacher is actually saying, actually, you know, you've got a lot of energy moving through you right now, and that's okay. But take a moment to just, you know, go run around the track, come back, move the energy, sit down, ground yourself, take a breath, and then join us again. Instead of like, get in the corner, like you're acting out, you're bad, because it's just energy moving through their body. Like, whoa. So we all carry this conditioning, this threat to our own safety from these old past days. So when I say it takes courage, I'm serious, the level of courage that it takes to stop yourself mid-drama moment or mid-codependent moment. That happened to me the other night. My boyfriend was the one who encouraged me to go take a bath because I just wanted to cuddle with him over having my own time. Right? And then all I did was lit the candle and put it in the corner and ran the water. I'm like, I almost missed out on this. Like, that's amazing. Like, what? That's so weird. But he caught me in it too. You know, so again, just coming back to that, like we as powerful women who are taking up space, a lot of amazing space on this planet, are powerful enough to choose the small moments to put ourselves first and to come back home.
Whoa. Krystal, Brandt, whoa. Oh gosh. And I just really am getting in this conversation, and a thread we've been repeating is, this is my word for it, but just like what a responsibility it is to ourselves to actually, we say we want pleasure, we say we want ease, we say we want things to flow, to not stress. Like we have to choose it consciously and create actions around it that serve it, and be able to stop in the moments, like you said, well, we're mid codependent or mid negative spiral or mid scarcity story, and say like, what other options are available to me right
Yep.
now? Which leads us hugely to our fourth and final point here, which is, if you're interested in your pleasure during a growth phase, number 4 is to create from desire, not from contraction. So can you say a little bit about that? Because that was your step that you created.
Totally. So we've talked about like catching yourself in the moment of like maybe an old identity rearing its head in this new growth step. Okay. And stopping yourself, coming back home. What's true for me? We've also talked about the courage that it takes to actually choose that mindset. Right. And so now when we've brought it back, when we've snapped ourselves out of that kind of like hypnotic trance of just this old unconscious way of being. Okay. This is where you get to insert. This is where we come back to the, hey, you get to choose, right? So you get to choose in the moment to lead your next step from desire rather than contraction. Okay, so it's actually interesting. Last night, I got a notification from my bank account that like something was up on it. But what I realized is I actually increased the threshold to get notifications like on a higher amount in my bank account where things are like fluctuating. But my instant moment was like, what's wrong? Like, what happened? My whole system just like, what drama is going down that, but in the moment, I'm just like, okay, take a breath. I just got an email on my phone that had a bunch of like black little letters written on it. It's just information. Cool. Okay. So then I get to choose to take that next step of checking my bank account or like just looking into seeing what's going on rather than making this huge story up, and thank God I didn't, because it was nothing. Right. But I get to choose to come from this moment of how do I desire to show up to this? And I've been, Jolie, we're always talking like prosperity, like you're talking about like these phases of growing our money and like, it's like making money, keeping money, and growing money. Like I find myself evolving on that path right now and putting a lot of intention towards just the next level of how I want my money to feel. So I'm like, hey, real time, this is a moment where I get to show up in alignment with my desired state rather than my default state. Okay, so in that moment, I'm coming back. Money flows to me with such grace. So grateful that my money has this beautiful, safe house to live in, which is my bank account. I'm so grateful that we live in a like land of opulence where I'm getting reminders on my phone to check these things. Like, come on. Okay. And then I go into my bank account, find that it's nothing. So all of a sudden I gained back so much power, like personal empowerment of how I showed up to my money. I also didn't bring the default energy into my money house. I actually aligned with what I wanted and then checked my bank account from there. Okay, so coming back to our desires is super, super critical because it's all energy. So if I'm showing up, same with the coffee house example, like if I'm showing up in my energy of desire, of what I truly want, then the whole world bends to meet us in that place.
Oh my gosh, Krystal, this is so important to be talking about this. And one point that I want to mention that I see all the time is that women go into launches or trying to get a client or make the next dollar in a state of reaction. So it's like, I just saw my bank account. I just signed up for this thing that is now on my credit card and my credit card is due. And so they're stretched and they're going to create something in a reaction. And so from contraction, creating. And it is so hard to go into a launch with that I have to get this and people have to say yes to me. And so there's a way to set this up. There's a way to set everything up that feels good, but there's a way to set up your launches for the year where it's planned out, where it's not like this whole I only eat when I kill it mentality. And it's not about I'm reacting to something. So like I feel scarce over here, so I'm gonna go out and force myself to create something in the market. And it never feels good when you talk to a coach or a consultant or a service provider that's like hunting you. You can feel it.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of going from that state, which is like, I need this to happen because I will not survive if not,
Yep.
there's a very fine line between the energetics. And one of my great mentors was like, Jolie, when you're hungry, you need to go hunt. Like you go out and you go find your kill. So there's a way where we can be the huntress and know when it's time to go out there, create and make something happen without like, I need you to make my life safe.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of the self-care, right? That's part of coming back to your own experience to make sure that you're taking care of you first before you go out. Like you want to source your own wellness and your own goodness to feel good inside your skin, to feel right with yourself from here, not from the women or the people that you're talking with on the phone. Because, you know, I've been there. Like I had to learn the hard way. Like I think you kind of just have to sometimes, you know, just like be in that position and feel what it feels in your body so that you know, that line to walk before. You know, contrast is a great teacher. So sometimes we need that. But again, it's on us to come back to make sure that we're feeding ourselves first.
That's right. Oh gosh, there's so many nuggets of wisdom in here, and we're coming in for a landing on this conversation. We're just 5 minutes to the hour here, but I just want to say the 4 steps is being able to maintain an identity that is chosen and not that just going along with the collective consciousness. Number 2, having a relationship with your inner critic. Number 3, having the courage of ease. Number 4, creating your next step from desire, not contraction. And Krystal, why don't we close for just a minute of speaking some truth into these women's hearts, because I know what it feels like to be like, everyone else is getting it but me. And like, why am I here and I just feel like shit? Like I can't change the way that I feel in this. So I just want to remind you of a couple things, which is nobody in the entire planet has the story you have, has the set of gifts that you have, has the experience you have. And so nobody will ever be able to do the thing that you came here to do. And there are infinite possibilities of the way that that can be expressed. There's no one right way to do it. Just because somebody has a marketing plan or a template or a blueprint, you being the creator of how you want to express your magic and your brilliance is completely up to you to decide in this life. And every season, every winter is followed by spring. And so if you're in a state of entropy, if you're in a state of cocooning, it's like it always kind of feels like it'll never end. And so whatever you're in right now, on the other end of this video, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. You will get through this. You do have the option to choose in every single moment. And you're beautiful and you've got this. And your entire life has shown you your track record of being able to come out the other end of something. And so this stage of growth is no different.
Amen.
Any final words for these ladies that may be in it right now?
Just know that it's normal. Like we all have moments of being in it. And it's actually that tension that helps unlock our brilliance. You know, the more that we can be in our own personal tension and have it be okay and know that we can navigate any waters that we're surfing, right? Just that self-confidence and self-trust of like, I know there's light at the end of the tunnel and it sucks right now. Not even going to play. It's okay. Right? And just let it be okay. And know that you will find your way through that. And there is such a gift inside of it. Okay. So stick with it. Nothing is insurmountable. Like you will find your way through. And you all are high achieving women. And the most fascinating part about high achieving women is that they'll never know it. They never know it right off the bat that they're high achieving women, because we're so used to rocking it, but we're never used to celebrating the fact of like how great we actually are, at what we do in the world. Okay. So if you find yourself in the moment, and if you can muster the courage in that moment, bring out a piece of paper and write down 3 things, just 3 things that you love about yourself in that moment. Just 3 things. I know you can find it. Even if you're like, Krystal, yeah, right. Like not right now. Please just try. Be courageous. Choose 3 things. And I promise you, expect miracles on the other end of that. You deserve that love right now, especially in those moments of tough emotional moments.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, you're such a beautiful human, Krystal. I look up to you so much and just the energetics that you run on a daily basis. And I watch your videos, I tune in. You're amazing, you're gorgeous. And if anybody watching this is wanting to connect more with Krystal, how can they connect with you, dear?
Find me on Facebook, find me on Instagram, Krystal Brandt, KrystalBrandt. I'll be updating my website game soon, but social media is so where I'm at. You can be in the pulse of what Courage of Ease means to me every single day and my crew.
Thank you guys for tuning in. It is possible for you to have pleasure even in the greatest of growth stages. We love you and thank you so much for watching. Bye, everyone.